This is the Serious Sam collection. We're on Xbox Series X. It's just running through backwards compatibility, so we're actually not seeing any optimizations when it comes to the specific next generation platform. But with that, it is an Xbox One X enhanced game, so you actually get two graphical options that we can kind of showcase here. There's also voice options if you want to turn that off. So you can do graphics or performance. So with the graphics, you're getting 4K, but it's obviously not quite as fluid as this, which is a bit, less visually impressive, but it does feel a lot smoother to play in this way. And I'm going to be switching that up based on which of the Serious Sam games we're playing, because this is, the Serious Sam collection. So there are a few different games. So you get the initial entry in the series, Serious Sam HD, the first encounter, so that's like the visually upgraded one. And then there's also, Serious Sam HD, the second encounter, which is a bit more. So the first one is kind of just like quick levels, I guess you could say. There's a lot of, I don't want to say choppy, but smaller kind of quick levels. And then the second one comes to more full form levels, and then the third one kind of provides what I'd call like full regular sorts of levels. Because I played a lot of Serious Sam 4 recently on Stadia, so I'm kind of getting more familiar and stuff with the franchise, and that one really did kind of, I guess, kick it up even more cinematically, I guess you could say, more cutscenes and character driven. But what these are is they're like throwback shooters where it's supposed to be just like chaos and bad attitudes and shooting monsters and stuff like that. So there's also Serious Sam 3 BFE, which I kind of mentioned, but on top of that we get some DLC, the Legend of the Beast and the Jewel of the Nile expansions. So it's got like basically, I want to say, all of the content that you would expect in a collection. You're able to save at any point just by pressing the back button, which is nice. And it's just a game and a series where it's all about, again, big explosions, shooting things, grinding up lots of monsters. And it has really fascinating cooperative elements. Now, I know I should be doing this a little bit faster than I am, but I'm trying to also sort of go over the information I have available, because there's a lot going on in this game. You really do need to pay attention to what's happening, because they come from everywhere and they go a little bit crazy. And this one is just like an initial kickoff, right? It gets a lot crazier in some of the other entries. This is just part of the first game here, and even now there's like tons of creatures going on. So what's really cool about this is this actually has online co-op in some of the game sections for like 16 players. So I'm hoping to maybe show off a bit of that. And there's also 4-player local split screen action, I guess, which is kind of cool. Local co-op, 4-player local co-op. I think that's kind of fascinating to a degree. Oh geez, I'm gonna get mulched up. But yeah, then it's really easy just to come back into it wherever you last had your auto save, or you can put a save point down. But yeah, this game is just kind of, well, these games in general are just kind of rad and intense. So that's just you battling up against the mental horde, which are the invading forces in this particular game. They're the bad guys. Not much of a story is present. It's kind of, I don't know how you would describe it. It's almost like random events where you're blasting things and shooting things. There are secrets and things to discover along the way. Hidden stuff. It's kind of fun. Like if you shoot down all these trees, and I think it's the second one, the beginning of it, there's like a lumberjack thing, and you get like a kind of a Thompson, I don't know, it's like a big machine gun sort of thing to use. So that's kind of fun. Just like little hidden things. Oh, in the first level of this one, there's like a room where these fans come out, and you have to shoot the fans, like, fans of the game or something. I don't know, it's sort of hilarious, I guess you could say. And I also think the engine's kind of neat on this one, because when you look away, it sort of loads things. Not as much in this one, because it's a lot smaller scale, but that's really noticeable in the later entries in the series. But I do think it's actually got pretty good visuals for the throwback style of shooter that it is. I do find that kind of fascinating, because the character models and stuff are definitely like old school, right? But then you get like the environments actually looking quite detailed, which I think is sort of fascinating. And there's different weapons that you can use. Like you have like the dual pistols, and then the different games you get more. I think this is the 3rd level or something. I don't like to spoil anything when I show off gameplay, but I guess Level-wise, it's just kind of random what I pick because, you know, there's not really much of a story. But we're going to switch over to showcasing part of the second game. Here we go. So this is the second one. The levels you will see are a little bit more, I don't know, larger in scale, a bit more expansive. There are some light, I guess you could, jeez. There are some light puzzle elements present, like kind of little challenge things, but for the most part it's just blasting and shooting stuff because that's what this is. And then the occasional weird dialogue and, you know, stuff like that. It's kind of fun. Oh yeah, I forgot that. It's seeking. Oh jeez. Those things are terrifying. But yeah, it's kind of a bit gory, a bit over the top, and it's still sort of a really fun one. Here they just give you like a lot of weapons. Yes, I know I can quick save. I played like... Anyways, it's definitely kind of a wild sort of experience. I missed one somewhere. I guess that's why I should have saved. Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's kind of a weird level to showcase, but I hope you're kind of getting the gist of the more open spaces. Like, the first game had very vast locations that you could go to. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there's more detail and more going on within it. It just feels like the first one was kind of like, hey, people are, you know, kind of digging what we got going on here, so now we're going to expand the offering with the follow-up, and then the third one sort of kind of feels as though it's like a fuller budgeted kind of package. Yes, I know, that's why I should have saved. Thank you, game. So where is this one wanting me to specifically go? Not off that cliff, that's for sure, not without jumping. So there's like a side area there. It's just, it's interesting series. Like, I definitely find it entertaining to a degree, just in regards to like the silly action and the type of experience that it provides, because it is sort of weird and quirky, and yeah, it's not your typical sort of shooter. It really is a throwback to, I guess you could say, a simpler time. Oh, we've got the serious bomb. And it's just wacky, and the weapons you use are crazy, and the attitude with it is kind of funny. I guess I could mention, for story-wise, that while there really isn't much of a story, the gist of it is you've kind of been sent back in time to hopefully figure out something that will, you know, be able to give humanity an edge in this invasion situation, you know, kind of changing the past or something to help the future, which I guess is interesting. It's as good a concept as any. Oh, that's definitely something I'm going to undershoot. Oh, it's just getting funny. Really, all the way back here. I guess I gotta do a little bit better on my saves, am I right? Yeah, that's one thing you just gotta remember is like managing your save and that, because you gotta do it, otherwise you have to go back and do things. But yeah, it's just kind of a very interesting sort of title, you know what I mean? Like, it's so weird. And then I really do think maybe, well, you could jump into any of them by themselves, I suppose. The games are quite long, like decently long. You'd be surprised, because there's different difficulty tiers too. You know, different types of challenges you can tackle and stuff like that. Where is that coming from? You know, there's tons of different situations that you kind of battle through as you try to survive, and different guns you get to use, different weird characters, well, not really characters, but different aliens, I guess. And it's just neat. Like, there's a little bit of a difficulty selection for everyone, I feel. Or at least there should be, depending on how intense you want things. It could be pretty friendly, or it can be a little bit more hostile when it comes to the battle situation. Yeah, his jumping sound is annoying. It's kind of funny. But yeah, it's just got like this weird throwback fantasy style that I hope you're kind of seeing here. And it's not really much of a shooter level, I guess you could say, because a lot of the other levels are more like intense, straight up shooting. I do find that sometimes, you know, there's a bit of scarcity in regards to the weapons and health and stuff, especially in this one. I definitely found that being more of the case, where I was, you know, running out of things I needed in order to do well. There we go, silly creatures. And Oh, I hope this is gonna work. Yeah, and you get armor. Oh yeah, there's pickups and stuff. If you weren't aware of that, you actually have like pick up armor and weapons and stuff. And I get like a...
Hey guys, let's play hot potato.
Yeah, and with that, we're gonna switch over to the, I guess, third game at this point. As soon as we blow up all these guys, including the jack-o'-lantern person. Oh wow, I hate those things so much. Yeah, a little bit more density. So this is the opening segment. I again wanted to show off, because we're just quickly jumping and adding this to the second game, the graphics options. So we were playing with the performance, now we're showing the graphics mode. I will mention you can also click down on the D-pad if you want to get like a third-person perspective. Click down again for central, and then left, and then down one more, and you go back in first person if you like playing that way. And then so that you can actually see the comparison, we'll dip back into the performance mode so you can see that in action and just see the increase in the fluidity and the change in the game environment. So that's really what I wanted to show off for the second game, just to add this in here. I also completely forgot to mention that the game has a whole survival mode if you want a bit of a survival challenge, and we'll be showing that off too after this part alongside the I guess you could say situation where we're going to be trying to do some co-op action with other players. But yeah, this is the third, you know, Serious Sam entry, and as you can tell, like visually and stuff, it's quite a upgrade over the over the other two that came before it in terms of like level design and the visual quality of it. I have noticed like it does seem to have a little bit more like loading type little issues as you're walking around, but nothing detrimental. It just, you know, fancy wise, it's not perfectly running, if that makes sense. But yeah, this one really kind of pushed forward the story elements of play. Yes, I know about the quick saving in regards to the level design and stuff. It was just it was a lot more interesting and maze-like. Like this is right after a sort of weird, could you call it a bit of an arachnid type level? You know, it's a lot darker. It's a lot of weird things you got to deal with in that one. Kind of entertaining, you know, getting different guns, and they've got like melee type things too, which are kind of intense. And this one's got more like regular troop type things. This is definitely quite a bit more similar to the fourth entry in the series, at least in my opinion. Oh jeez, there we go. But yeah, it's once again, you know, just doing pickups, blasting things, working through this much more dialogue driven thing too. You know, there's a lot more discussion and character and everything like that. It's kind of fascinating. And big bosses as well, you know, large hordes at times, lots of enemies, blasting things away, having a serious Sam time, obviously. But yeah, it looks pretty good, and I guess I should, because I totally forgot to on the last one, but I'll go back and I'll add that in. Just show off the graphics mode so you can see that a bit too, and just how it changes. It seems to have a bit more trouble with things. Oh no, I got killed. Not by the big thing. But yeah, this is with the graphics and not the performance. Just the performance feels a lot better, at least. You know, I think so. It depends on what you want, you know, like visually and stuff, or if you want it just to be a lot more fluid, it's kind of really up to you. It would have been nice to have optimization specifically for the Series X, but kind of take what you can get, right? And I don't think it's too like detrimental, especially considering you have the options for how you want to play it. You just might not notice it usually. Things are annoying. Well, we got so many shells, giant spider thingy. Oh, you're finally dead. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of what this sort of experience really is in this one. You're just kind of blasting things and working through these largely linear levels. Is that fair to say? I mean, they give you some freedom at times in terms of the scope, but for the most part, you're very much headed in a particular direction. I find the shadows like really hardcore in this one. Like that dark map was really dark, even when they sometimes gave you a flashlight. Like at some points in the levels, it was just like almost completely pitch black, and very hard to get an idea of where I was headed and where I was going. Oh, that's definitely not where I'm going. Yeah, they certainly have fun with things. They certainly provide some weird situations. Little sneaks at things to come to. You can see through like walls and gates. I think that's always humorous. And they definitely play around with where you're headed in this one a bit more in comparison to the previous games. They definitely like herding you in interesting directions through this much more realistic city setup. I guess the other ones are a lot more like fantasy to a degree because you're actually out somewhere, whereas this one you're working towards it. It's almost story-wise like a bit of a reboot almost, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's ringing true for many people that are fans of the series, but that's just kind of what I think of it as, just in regards to them pushing the story forward more and everything like that. I think it's kind of fascinating. But with that, we're going to jump over to showing off a little bit of the survival, and of course some of the co-op if we can find players to jump in with. So this is one of the survival levels. Kind of a simplistic setup. That's mostly what they are, large open areas. And then you just get hordes of enemies that you need to mulch down and blast with a variety of weapons as you try to survive as long as humanly possible. Which typically isn't very long, but I'm sure there's some really good players out there that can really survive the horde for an extended period of time. I guess it depends on your skill level. Oh, you always gotta watch out for those guys. This is such a loud game that I've had to really turn down the volume when recording this. So if they kind of sneak up on me, it's kind of sucks. Oh jeez. Oh yeah, the jack-o'-lantern. Guys, that's not good. Oh no. So many enemies getting chased down by so many foes. It's not good. Oh wow. We'll try another survival level. So this is a different one, obviously, from another one of the games, so you can just kind of see what that's like. Small little courtyard, small action, big blasts. And you can see how the different games have different styles for their survival setups. It's just kind of a fun extra mode you can play, you know, just to have something a little bit extra value-wise. It's neat. And it's very serious. Oh jeez, that's not good. Yeah, this one's a lot more claustrophobic because you're in such a tiny spot. Ooh, big explosions, not great for me. Where's that coming from? Yeah, they don't have the most genius of pathing. They mostly just run at you and try to blow up. It's a smart strategy. And this is like one of the most demented alien horrors I've ever seen. You know, they kind of almost do like a remake, I guess, of this in the fourth game. There's a level that's very similar to this in one of the areas there, which is kind of fascinating. I hope that one comes to the consoles eventually, because I think it's just a Stadia exclusive for a while or something like that. Just kind of interesting. Oh jeez. Yep, lots of enemies. I mean, I don't think I'm doing too bad considering the small scale here, but they're not essentially being aggressive towards me. But it can be really hard, this game. Like, it's not necessarily an easygoing thing at all. It definitely brings a level of challenge to it, complexity in the battles. I mean, like, look at the gun. There's like guts and everything on it. It's kind of wild. I don't know. There's a lot of them. I'm just doing circles to try my best to sort of survive here as long as wanting a survival, so that's all I can. And then I'm really looking forward to showing a little bit of the co-op in action, because I think that's sort of fun, but yeah, just kind of gory time. Look at all the bodies lining up. Kind of nuts. Yeah, and then you can do the melee. But I don't think that's gonna quite be as effective when you're doing a survival thing like this, because this is just like close-knit, absolute chaos. Oh, now we've got those thingies. That's wonderful. I'm definitely going to die here. This is not going to be a good time for me at all. No sirree, that's for sure. These things are scary. I wonder what else they get to throw in this tiny little arena. Ooh. So here we go. This is the final survival. I just wanted to show off a little bit of each of the game's survival options so you can see sort of what they're like, or just get an idea of it. As you know, multiple ones have different levels. This is a little bit kind of insane off the bat here. Just in terms of the quantity of enemies that are coming at me, which is kind of insane and nuts. I do not like this at all. So this is the online co-op and or multiplayer option. So there's like, you know, you can do like survival things, standard online play. There's a little bit of versus. So what's odd is the browsing option where you can see all of the servers listed keeps crashing today, which was really weird because it was working absolutely fine last night. So I had to just quick join an option, but luckily I found at least a couple people. So yeah, you know, there's definitely are options for joining with others if you want to play online, which I think is kind of really cool that it, you know, offers this sort of option. I think that's rather fascinating. If you have a group of friends that wants to, you know, jump in here and have a good time, I think that's really quite cool. So you don't get many games that offer this sort of feature. I wonder where the other guys are at. It's just a really big map. I mean, it's got to be. Oh, that's a teammate. It's got to be when you're, you know, having this many players present. It's a quite fascinating situation, that's for sure. I just wanted to give an idea of what it's running like so you can see it in action. I think it's kind of really neat that you can do that. Again, with us being in the performance mode option, just because it feels a lot better for doing this sort of thing. But yeah, it's... Oh, yep. That was a little bit scary. Oh, and another wave. Yeah, it offers a lot of different ways to play. It's a very full collection of games and content. You can play this for a very, very long time across the different experiences because, you know, you've got not only all of that great, you know, campaign type content that takes hours, there's also all of this multiplayer options, the survival. It's, you know, it's kind of fascinating. I think it's a pretty well done series, and it's a surprisingly interesting series because you don't really see a lot of throwback games like this, and when you do, they're always very, very throwbackish, whereas this one definitely feels like those older titles, but it tries to do its own thing with that, and I think that in itself is kind of a little bit of a fascinating sort of thing. So I like that the collection's here. It would have been cool to see it, you know, optimized for the next gen consoles. Hopefully they do that at some point. That would be cool, but for now I'm pretty happy with what we have available here. Because I mean, like, look at this. It actually is kind of a gorgeous little game in its own design right. I just think it's kind of got like a majestic look to it. And the reflections. Ooh, screen space. Yeah. Actually, that's kind of really well done, I guess. Anyways, that is the Serious Sam collection on the Xbox platform. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this look at it. And where are all the creatures that we're supposed to be mulching down? I think I'm supposed to have kind of gone with the team. Anyways, yeah, let's call it here. This is a good enough look at it. Oh, there they come.